listening to the Successful Mind Podcast.
Successful people learn how to make their minds work for them.
We are Life is Now, and this is the Successful Mind Podcast. So I'm really excited today.
Tell me about it.
Well, you know about it, but I'll tell you about it anyway because we're on this podcast.
Yeah.
Big day for us yesterday. We launched a new website, we launched a new branding, and we launched a brand new tool.
That is exciting.
I'm so proud of it. You know, it's fun to like create something and just be like so proud of what you created because you know that it's going to make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
So for quite a while now, David and I have been having high-level conversations about leadership, right? Because our goal is to help leaders because we know that when we help leaders of companies, that trickles down into their team and that trickles down into their team's families, and it creates like it creates a ripple effect, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure. Synergy, productivity, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like explosions in business for in a good way.
Yes,
you know?
like our big thing is we want to create impact. We want to help the good guys win, right?
Absolutely.
That's what lights us up. And I really feel like this new tool that we created helps the good guys win. And in this conversation we've been having about leaders, we've been working with leaders. Well, you've been working with leaders for longer than I have. I personally have been working with leaders for 14 years. You've been working with leaders for a lot longer than that.
But what's interesting is not on this topic that we're going to talk about today.
No, right.
This is different. This is not only is it a growth edge for us, it's a growth edge for everybody in our community.
Right. So what we noticed in like sitting down and having conversations between the two of us is that leaders kind of fall into 4 different leadership types, leadership categories, especially the visionary leaders, right? People that want to create something really wonderful in the world, that want to impact lives, that want to help more people. You know, the people that go into business because they have a mission, they believe that they're on purpose in what they're doing. And we noticed that these leaders think very differently. Like not all leaders think the same. Not all leaders lead the same. Not all leaders need the same systems. Not all leaders need the same help. Not all, it's like there's not one size fits all in terms of leadership. And a lot of the books that you read, a lot of the courses that are out there on leadership teach one way. And it's really black and white.
It is.
But when you look at the mindset of leaders, because it all stems with mindset, they all start in a different place. And they're all influenced by their upbringing, just like anyone's influenced by their upbringing, right? Before the age of 7, like they don't have the ability to choose what goes into their mind. So whatever their situation is as that young person under the age of 7 then gets absorbed, right? It goes in the bucket and then it stays and it influences how that person filters their world.
Yeah, it shapes the way they see the world and the way that they approach and see their business, and that's different.
Correct. And what we've noticed is that we can't talk to each business owner the same way, right? Like
that's right.
We've noticed this through the VIPs that we've done, the private coaching that we've done, the group. I mean, my gosh, we've worked so long with leaders of companies that we know that we have to have an understanding of what's going on in their mind,
how they
think in order to help them. So I'm making this long story shorter right now. So what we did is we went to work and we created an assessment tool. And the idea behind this assessment tool is that you answer some very specific questions, not many of them. I think I've taken this assessment like 6 times to test it and make sure it works. But I think it takes literally 6.5 minutes. And you get a result. So it categorizes you, and we've asked questions based in psychology. We've asked questions based in human design, and it kind of groups you in one of 4 leadership types. And then the cool thing about that is that with each leadership type, just like anything, you have the good and you have the bad, right? You have the superpower of that leadership type, and you also have the kryptonite,
right?
And it's different for each leadership type. So I'm going to use myself as an example.
Shoot.
Right? Okay, so I took the quiz. I mean, I created it, but I didn't actually know what I was going to turn out to be. So I took the quiz and my result was a catalyst leader. And the superpower of a catalyst leader is that teams love to work with you. If you're a catalyst leader, is all about building people up. It's getting wins for everyone. It's how you communicate and relationship build. I'm a relationship person, right? Like my strength as a leader is in having open communication, creating safe places for teams, and then teaching other people how to do that as well. But my kryptonite is in the belief that I have to do it all myself, that it's difficult for me to delegate sometimes, that if it's going to get done, it needs to get done right by me. Like my kryptonite is in allowing other people to help me, allowing myself to receive support, because the opposite side of the catalyst leader is the martyr. And that's 100% in my past, right? Like raised by martyrs, became a martyr, am a recovering martyr. Like it shows up around the corner like, oh, poor me. I'll just do it myself. Work yourself to the bone, because my value was in how hard I worked and the fact that I could solve problems, right?
Yep.
But for me to step into being the catalyst leader, I needed to let go of those things. And then the cool thing is that the report that you get after you take this quiz gives you specific things that you can start doing to begin to step more into the superpower side of your leader and out of the kryptonite side of your visionary leadership role. So it's not just one of those tools that you see on Facebook that, tells you, oh, you're like a lion and here's why you're like a lion, or, oh,
it's really an assessment.
It's very much an assessment. Yes, it's a very much a tool, an assessment that helps you uncover your blind spots.
Yeah.
Right?
In an incredible way too.
Yeah. And, so blind spots, right? These are the things that you can't see for yourself.
Right.
Most of the time something is not right, but you can't figure out what that not right thing is. You feel like there's something that you're missing. There's something that you don't understand, but you're not sure what it is you don't understand, but you know that there's something that you don't understand because you keep getting the result that you don't want. That's a blind spot. Yes. The purpose of this tool is to help you see that blind spot so that you can begin to make changes and start to head in the correct direction.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about the blind spot is that you have a tendency to unconsciously keep approaching it from what seems normal to you, and you don't understand why you're not getting a different result. And it can be extremely frustrating, right? Because you see the world the way that you do, and that makes sense to you. But why this doesn't make sense to change it from your perspective gets very confusing for people.
Right. Well, let's take you, for example.
Yeah.
You are a charismatic leader.
Right.
And here's the thing with charismatic leaders. They don't want to be a leader. They don't want to lead a team. And I don't know how many times I've had conversations with business owners and finally pulled it out of them that they actually don't want to be the leader of their company. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But if you're a charismatic leader and you're feeling constantly pushed to be the leader in your company, you're going to create an absolute mess.
Right.
Your team's not going to be clear on the direction that you're going. You're going to constantly feel like you can't communicate, like no one understands you.
Well, that's the kryptonite part. You're constantly misunderstood, right?
Yes.
We think fast. We think big, broad pictures. We're very creative. We get bored extremely easy. That's totally true for me. My whole life. And the interesting thing about this, Steph, is as a kid, I was disciplined for the bored part. Instead of anybody recognizing what my gift was, I was ridiculed for it because it affected everybody else in a negative way. So it's a constant, all my life, I felt like I was misunderstood about, like I was trying to get a message across, but the people that I was around, it was misunderstood. And it wasn't until I got into business where that actually got celebrated, which was a huge shock for me.
Yeah. And just think, like you being the charismatic leader, if you wouldn't have been able to step outside yourself and say, I'm not the best person for this job, I mean,
right.
God only knows what would have happened, right?
But there'd be no growth. It would just completely stand still forever.
Right. And it opened the door for me to come in and say, I'll be the leader and I know how to communicate with you.
Yes.
You have an idea. I'm thinking, I have no freaking idea what he means. And I know the questions to ask to pull out all the information that I need to be able to make it so.
Right.
Right? So there are two other types of leaders. There's legacy leader and there's limitless leader. I'm not going to go into them, but I guarantee that everyone, including you, falls into one of those four leadership characteristics. And every single one of you has a superpower that you may not even be aware of, that if you could tap into more, would create amazing results for your business.
Yep.
And you also have some kryptonite that you could actually have tied to your ankles right now because you're doing things that you think you should be doing or not doing things that you don't even know you should be doing because of your leadership style.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I've seen many people that are charismatic leaders that think that they've consistently hired the wrong people and they have trouble with people leaving. And so it goes back to I'm completely misunderstood. And what they don't understand is they don't have somebody with your talent and gifts to be able to communicate and build. So there's a balance that has to happen. And I was talking to somebody about this. I said, it's really interesting. You have two people, they bring these amazing gifts and it creates like a third entity, right? Like it's a beautiful creation, what comes out of those two things when you can synergistically work together, but you have to understand it to be able to do that.
Right. And the purpose of this assessment is to not only help you understand, but it's also to give you actual like action things that you can begin to implement now to begin to change these things. So like I said, it's not like your typical like quiz on Facebook that you take and it tells you that you're a lion because of, you know what I mean? Like you've all seen those, like, and they're fun, they're great, whatever. But we wanted to add, real value and make this something that could be super useful and also, helpful for the person receiving the quiz and also helpful for a person who's coaching the person receiving the quiz, because that helps that person understand the other person better, right? And it also helps teams understand their leader better. So I just think this is going to create a ripple effect that we haven't even thought of yet. And I'm really excited to announce it, which is why we're doing this special, super quick podcast.
Yes.
So if you're interested in finding out what your visionary leader type is, we'd love for you to take this quiz. It's completely free. We've launched it to our list yesterday. So if you're on our list, you would have gotten it in email form. Make sure you check your email. And if you're not on our list, you can take this quiz by going to lifeisnowinc.com/leader. So super simple. lifeisnowinc.com/leader. We hope to see your quiz come through. We hope it provides an incredible amount of value for you and gives you some insights on what you need to stop doing and also what you need to start doing.
Uncover the blind spot.
Uncover the blind spots. That's key.
Yep.
Thanks.
You bet.
All right.
Have you ever wondered what kind of a leader you are? Do you know that if you figure out and understand what kind of a leader you are, it'll help you make different decisions and progressions in your business that you've never seen before? We invite you to take this amazing assessment that we just made live yesterday. Go to lifeisnowinc.com/leader.
Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind podcast. If you like what you've heard and you want to know more, go to davidnagel.com/free stuff.